days I trash your party. You hate Trump, Biden shot it. You tell every kid you see that you are gay. Science makes you mad, indictments make you glad. For 8 years now we've got 'em, is all you said. Biology is just too much, so the doctors cut off your nuts, and you think that you are a babe. You call me names and swear at me, because you changed the way you be, and I don't want to live your fantasy. I know I'm right, you're fucking crazy, and tonight I'm gonna prove just how much you ain't too bright. You're kinda lazy, I know you're wrong, I know I'm right, you're fucking nuts.
I don't f***ing like you.
What?
I said I don't f***ing like you.
You don't like me?
No.
Look. I don't give a f***. I don't give a f***.
Okay, I love that video. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, I gotta turn something off here. It's just, okay, mic aux, monitor off. Okay, we're good. Okay, we're good. Anyway, let me see here. Is that good? Yeah, it's good. Anyway, so tonight, let me get my, I gotta get ready here. So, some of you are probably going to be upset tonight, because I'm about to show you that you live in a third world shithole. Or, well, your government is a fucking despot, like a third world shithole. So, now, I'm not showing you this video to prove that Brazil's government is corrupt. We all know it's corrupt. I'm showing you this video to show you that the American government is no fucking different. As this reporter is talking about his experience in Brazil, I want you to start inserting American names. For example, Merrick Garland, Joe Biden, Barack Obama. He even mentions what they're doing to Trump in his interview. Think about all the censorship that's gone on. Think about all the money that's been sent to a certain president's son or president's family. Insert those names. Then sit and think about it. You'll find out the only difference between Brazil and the United States, the government anyway, is the language in which they will fuck you over. So everyone can climb down off their high horses. We're all in the same boat. We're all getting fucked over by the same type of people, just in different languages.
Brazil, you've lived. Are you still in Brazil, or
yep,
you live?
Yeah,
okay.
yep.
So Brazil, I have an affinity with Brazil. I named my daughter Ayrton Senna. You know how they view Senna over there. Senna's a race car driver. 1994. All the stories with him, what he did, beloved. With the day he died, I don't know if you've seen his document or if you haven't. You must watch it.
I know.
Emotional, right?
Yeah.
I relate to the guy on how he's wired. I relate how he wanted to. Do what he did with the, corners he was taking, and how he said, you guys moved the tire. That's why I crashed. You guys moved, and then they went, no, we never moved the tire. And he found that they moved the tire 2 inches is why he hit the tire. You know what story that is? When he went through one of the corners, he says, no, you guys screwed up. Wow. And they had to apologize to him. He says, because the tires I was going on practice was not the same. You moved it 2 inches. That kind of a guy on highway. Wow. Freaking maniacal. Yeah. I love how much he loved this country. So you live in Brazil, Operation Car Wash has been documented on God knows how much, what he's done. And the $600 million, the one guy that was a super billionaire and goes from being a super billionaire to all of a sudden losing everything, and he goes to jail. And I've studied this whole thing, in the past. And then Bolsonaro, who he was, and then Lula, who he was, whose Lula's ties are, and how they viewed Lula. And
Okay, let me just a side note on Lula. After Lula took office, he met with Sniffy Joe Old Puddin' Brain and came back to Brazil. And I understand enough Portuguese to watch the news, so I was watching the news. He's like, yeah, I talked to Joe Biden, and I like some of his ideas. That's when I knew Brazil was in trouble, because Joe Biden has fucking dementia.
you kind of came and did something you did some kind of an interview with Lula. He came down, sat down and talked to you for about an hour and 20 minutes or something like that. What is your impression of Lula and Bolsonaro? And the reason why, assume Americans who is Lula in America? Is Lula a Bernie Sanders?
Lula is a fucking communist. And as we all know, communism never turns out well.
Bolsonaro a Trump? Is Lula more of an Obama or a Biden? Who is Lula? Because there's a lot. This guy went to jail. He did a lot of stuff to steal money from the government based on stuff that's been documented. In your eyes, is Lula a good guy? Is he a bad guy? Bolsonaro, is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? What do you think about these two characters?
So, first of all, Lula's life story, you just have to acknowledge, no matter what your ideology is an inspirational life story. He was born into the deepest and most extreme form of poverty in a country where poverty means something different than it means in the United States. He was one of 9 children. He was illiterate until the age of 10. He got a job in a factory. He lost one of his fingers in a factory. He became a union leader. So he emerged from both poverty, union activism, and then became a hardcore political leftist. He was never really the kind of political leftist of, say, Castro or Hugo Chavez. In fact, he always tried to distance himself from that. He ran for president 3 times. Brazil came out of this dictatorship. That was the result of the CIA helping right-wing generals in 1964 overthrow a democratically elected government. They imposed a dictatorship for 21 years that was brutal. And when
the one thing he's not telling you is that regime before the military regime was just as brutal. It was a communist regime.
democratized in 1985, Lula became a national figure. He ran for president 3 times, lost all 3 times because of the perception that he was too leftist for Brazil. The elite was aligned against him. In 2002, he understood that in order for him to win, he needed to become a more moderated figure, not just a kind of pretend moderated figure, but an actually moderated figure. He chose as vice president this highly respected entrepreneur and banker who was a billionaire or something close to it.
Yeah, that's where we kind of differ, because our president picked someone because, well, they're a black woman. So I'll give Lula points for that. He actually picked someone that, knew something about business.
And when he got into office, he began essentially accommodating the financial elite and the financial sector. Under Lula's first 2 terms, from 2002 to 2010, Brazil's economic growth was explosive. It went from something like the 15th largest economy in the world to the 6th largest economy in the world. It surpassed the UK. Everybody got richer. The rich got richer. He was able to take a lot of that national wealth, distribute it to programs that gave a guaranteed monthly payment to people who couldn't feed their children, that level of poverty. He created opportunities for poor people to go to college for the first time. There were good things.
Let me explain about the college. They did not go to college, poor people, because you have to pass an entrance exam. The schools here are horrible on purpose. They're not going to educate their successor or the people who are going to throw them out of office. Brazil is ranked 79th in education. So, no, he did not do all this stuff with colleges. He federalized the colleges, yes. But poor people don't go to college here.
That his government did. Brazil, at the same time, never got out of the systemic corruption that was the result of that dictatorship. So the way that you get votes is you have to pay people off. The way that you get anything done politically is you move money around. All the Brazilian politicians have huge amounts of Swiss bank accounts that have been hidden and finally discovered. And Lula and his party, PT, were very much a part of that because
when they arrested Lula, he was worth $4.3 million. Not reals, dollars. In Brazil, that's a lot of fucking money for a president.
they were running the political system. So Lula himself will tell you, and I've done several interviews with him, including when he was in prison, and he will tell you that his party has always been one of grave corruption. What happened was by the way, he's probably the most talented politician.
Oh, you kidding me?
There's no person who can move crowds the way
Obama said
Lula
that
can.
about him. He said he's one of the best politicians out there.
Yes, you notice they mentioned Obama. Great politician. Shitty president.
When he left
Great
office
communicator.
in 2010, he had an 86.
By the way, who do you think is running the country right now? Do you think that senile old asshole is running it? Fuck no. This is Obama's third term.
6% approval rating. You're talking about pluralistic democracy because everybody got richer. And not, obviously a lot of that is luck. A lot of it has to do with international commodity prices, things the president doesn't control. But the president gets credit when the economy does well. The economy did very well, and he left office with that kind of popularity. When his chosen successor, who was Dilma Rousseff, who was actually a communist guerrilla, she picked up arms, she went to prison to fight the dictatorship. When commodity prices collapsed, the economy in Brazil collapsed, they saw an opportunity to get rid of that party finally. They impeached her in 2016, and then in 2017, this anti-corruption probe, car wash, the biggest anti-corruption probe in Brazil's history, one of the biggest in the world.
I will give Brazilians credit. They actually impeached the president. For some reason, we can't get that done, even though there's enough evidence. We'll try and impeach a president on a bullshit dossier, but actual evidence can't get it done. And they will actually launch a corruption probe. Of course, I think it's probably everybody here is corrupt. So whoever was launching the probe was probably just as corrupt as the person that they proved was corrupt. So it's like America. FBI, insert the name Merrick Garland, all that shit. FBI, raid Mar-a-Lago, all that shit. Yeah, do you see that there's no difference yet? Is it sinking in that you screaming, I'm an American, land of the free? You're not fucking free. You're no freer than these people.
Started putting into prison billionaires and some of the country's most powerful politicians, and I was a supporter of it at the start, like a lot of people were. It started to become clearly politically motivated. They were aimed at certain figures and certain parties and kind of protecting the center-right the parties with which they had an ideology. They started to become put under suspicion.
Now keep in mind, in Brazil, center-right is basically like left, like in Europe. Like the Nazis were socialists, but to them they're far right. In America, those socialists are far left. The same in Brazil, they're they're right.
In 2019, I had a source who hacked into the phones of the leading judges and prosecutors, including the ones who presided over Lula's conviction. He was leading all public opinion polls in 2017.
Lula was guilty, but the people who put him in prison are just as guilty of corruption. That does not negate what Lula did. Lula is still a crook. So if you're convicted, I guess in this world, if you're convicted by a crook, you're not a crook. So I guess in politics, two wrongs make it right.
20 points ahead of Bolsonaro, 25 points ahead of Bolsonaro into the 2018 race. They took him, they put him into prison, they convicted him on these corruption charges, rendered him ineligible. Bolsonaro ran without having to get past Lula, and he got elected. In 2019, right at the start of the Bolsonaro presidency, I got this gigantic archive that proved the whole time the judge was plotting with political actors, with the prosecutors, essentially using corrupt methods
What's the name of that Georgia prosecutor? Oh, and the New York prosecutor there. What the fuck is his name? You know, the one that indicted that Marine because it was so important, and Trump, but couldn't put the guy that the Marine killed in prison after like 40 felonies.
In order to fight corruption, when we exposed it, it required a nullification of Lula's conviction. He was able to leave prison as a result of the reporting we were doing. That's the reason why there was so much anger and hostility toward me from the Bolsonaro movement, because they finally got Lula in jail and our reporting forced his release. Lula runs for president in 2022, defeats Bolsonaro by a tiny margin. Same issue with Trump. The whole establishment united against Bolsonaro, had all the challenges of COVID. He still almost won.
They had their own January 6th moment as well.
Their own January 6th moment, exactly because Bolsonaro claimed that his loss was due to fraud. Bolsonaro, over the years,
Their January 6th moment was horrendous compared to America's January 6th. America's January 6th was the people touring the fucking Capitol building. These guys actually tried to destroy the Capitol building.
he was this backbencher. He had made a lot of statements like, I don't really believe in democracy. I think Pinochet was a great guy. The only thing Pinochet did wrong was he didn't kill more communists in the country. He made a lot of statements that were very disturbing. I viewed Bolsonaro as a real threat. When he got into the presidency, the entire establishment aligned against him like they did with Trump and began using anti-democratic methods to defeat the Bolsonaro movement.
Are you saying now that you are no different than Brazil or any other country? I've been to other third world countries too. Government's no different. They're all fucking corrupt. They're all shitbags.
Censoring, imprisoning political enemies, just like they were doing with Trump, and I became an outspoken opponent of the things that were being done against Bolsonaro and against his movement. Obviously changed where I stood politically. Suddenly the Bolsonaro movement saw me a lot more favorably. The left began to turn on me and view me as an enemy. Bolsonaro ended up as a very weak president. Lula is a very weak president because Brazil is run by this kind of very corrupt, centrist class that's transactional in nature. There's not a lot that presidents can do. One of the things I like about Lula is he's a very outspoken defender of Julian Assange. He is, constantly demanding the persecution of Assange stop. He refuses to get Brazil involved in the war in Ukraine, saying we don't have a war with Russia, we have a war with poverty and inequality, and we're going to use our resources not to feed a NATO war, but to try and help Brazil. If you ask me, is Lula corrupt? My answer would be, I want to see a fair trial, not a trial filled with corruption.
Yeah, I would like to see a fair trial too. Yeah. How about getting rid of all these Soros-backed fucking district attorneys and judges? How about that?
There's certainly evidence to suggest that he was part of the systemic corruption. Bolsonaro, though, too, by the way, every one of Bolsonaro's sons is a political elected official. They all ran for Senate and Congress and won on the Bolsonaro name.
And how long has Sniffy Joe been in politics? Where's his... isn't his son a millionaire because of his father's name and his position in government? Isn't that corruption?
And they all have $6 million mansions and huge amounts of personal wealth that is very difficult to account for. I think Bolsonaro and his family also have a lot of evidence that they too are involved in corruption. To me, neither Bolsonaro nor Lula is the relevant problem in Brazil. The problem in Brazil is that you have a court that has seized all power. The censorship regime in Brazil makes the United States look like this bastion of liberty and freedom.
No, it doesn't. It makes it thanks to people like Merrick Garland, the FBI, Joe Biden, Brazil, United States, same.
Freedom. And at the same time, you have these corrupt factions in Brazil that continue to run Brazil to the detriment of 90% of the population. And so I've seen Bolsonaro nor Lula neither as villains or heroes. They're almost ancillary figures more than they are central figures to Brazilian politics.
See, Bolsonaro was trying to privatize business, which would make it harder for the government to steal from those businesses. The businesses would actually have to work to get that bribe money to the government, like the natural gas industry. Used to be government owned. Then he privatized it. Gas prices went up. The reason they went up is because, unlike the United States, they didn't pass antitrust laws breaking up the gas company. So they still give the government money to stay together and charge whatever prices they want.
When I talk to some friends there, the way they describe,
like the pharmaceutical industry in the United States,
Lula is like criminal at the highest level, corrupt, politician, stealing money from the people. He had a meeting with Castro. Didn't Castro have a meeting at like 83 years old? Castro was an emotional meeting with Bolsonaro years ago. It's like 13 years ago.
Lula maintained positive relations with Hugo Chavez, with Maduro, with Castro, but at the same time,
it's kind of weird, don't you think?
I don't think it's weird to have relations with some of the most important leaders of the most. I mean, Venezuela is a country with enormous oil reserves.
Totally get it. Yeah.
Joe Biden.
And the president of Venezuela is worth $4.7 million, but his people are eating their fucking dogs. Welcome to communism.
Meets with the head of Saudi Arabia, who is as repressive as anything that Hugo Chavez ever did or that Fidel Castro did. We have a long history of supporting tyrannical government. I'm not trying to defend Lula or I'm not trying to defend Bolsonaro. There's huge political polarization. The Brazilian right sees Lula the way the American left sees Trump. And at the same time, the Brazilian left wants Bolsonaro in prison and is well on their way to putting Bolsonaro in prison. They've already made him ineligible to run without even convicting him. And I think a lot of those methods are anti-democratic as well.
For me, when I see stuff like that happening and, Brazil being the great people that they have there, and you saw a similar thing where now Bolsonaro can't go there. They have a guy at the top who's the one that everybody fears. Is he the attorney general who looks like a bad? He just looks like a guy that's imprisons everybody.
He's the
What's
judge.
His name? He's
Alexandre de Moraes.
Yeah, that's right there. Pull up his picture.
Merrick Garland's Brazilian counterpart. Is all this sounding familiar to you people yet? Are you figuring out that the United States is now a third world shithole?
That is a real tyrant. That guy is a real tyrant.
Well, whose side is he on? He's more on Lula than he is with Bolsonaro.
The funny thing is in 2017 when he was nominated for the Supreme Court, the left hated that guy. Look, he looks like a classic
villain from a X-Men.
The stuff this guy's done.
This guy is scary. There are very few people willing to criticize Alexandre de Moraes. I've been using my platform nonstop to warn about the dangers that he poses to Brazilian liberty.
You feel safe with this guy there?
No, I don't.
I'm surprised he hasn't come after you yet.
The reason he wants to, believe me, the reason he can't is I accepted a contract with Brazil's largest newspaper, which is like the New York Times of Brazil, to kind of insulate myself further. Obviously,
unlike the United States, though, that newspaper is pretty much owned by the Brazilian government. So, yes, it's a propaganda wing of the Brazilian government. Just like the New York Times, Washington Times,
I have an international platform. When Brazilian prosecutors tried to indict me and prosecute me for the work I did, there became an international scandal. No, this guy is a fanatic.
I just kind of wanted to see where you're at.
No, this is the guy who is responsible.
Some say he runs Brazil.
He runs Brazil, even though he's a single member of the court. No one has elected him. Wow. And he is a despot and a fanatic in the purest sense of. What he will do is he issues orders when he wakes up in the morning, ordering people banned off the internet. There's this guy. He's currently in Miami now. You should talk to him actually if you haven't met him. He was like the Joe Rogan of Brazil.
Remember when, if you mentioned Uncle Ivan, you could get your accounts taken off YouTube. If you mentioned the Hokey Pokey, you could have your account taken off YouTube. Remember all that? Is this fucking sounding familiar? You live in a third world shithole, folks. Thanks to these loony leftist fucks.
modeled his
Constantine or Raphael?
Monarchy is his name.
Okay.
He modeled his show after Joe Rogan. He has 4-hour shows. He drinks. He smokes weed during the show. He became the most popular podcaster in Brazil. Every politician left and right was begging to get on his show. He won his show. He was a little bit drunk. He was asked when he said he was an absolutist, free speech absolutist, if that means even that the government should allow a Nazi party to exist. And he said, yeah, of course, even the Nazi party should be able to exist like it does in the United States. They called him a Nazi. YouTube kicked him off. YouTube, his career was destroyed. He went to Rumble. He has a show on Rumble. And now that judge, that fanatic that you just put on the screen, has ordered Monarch off Rumble, has fined him, has opened a criminal investigation. That's why he's in the United States, because he fears being arrested. The only thing that he has done is question the integrity of the 2022 election.
Sound familiar? Questioning an election and you get criminal charges? Sounds fucking familiar, doesn't it? You live in a third world shithole, folks.
Questioned a lot of the orthodoxies of COVID. Without any trial, that judge has silenced what had been the most popular. It would be like saying Joe Rogan is not permitted to use the internet.
Totally, but to me, this is why I'm very curious, because some would say you help Lula. When you talk to him, it's like, oh, okay, maybe this because the guy that people trust, they trust you. So when you're doing something and you say something good about a guy. But a lot of people in Brazil say this is the guy why Lula got, he was able to drop the charges so Lula could run against Bolsonaro, because they felt like he was the guy that was the most formidable guy to beat Bolsonaro, and he did. So
I'll tell you what actually happened. And it's an interesting story because it's repeating itself in the United States and in the EU. When they put Lula in prison in 2017, the reason they did it, the establishment did it, was because they always wanted a center-right, kind of like a Mitch McConnell, Paul Ryan type. That's their dream to run Brazil. And the only way they thought they could do that was by destroying Lula and his party. What they got instead was Bolsonaro. So they kind of got the monster that they feared most. And when Bolsonaro got into office, they realized they feared Bolsonaro way more than they feared Lula, because he was a much bigger enemy of the establishment. No, exactly. So this guy here was an enemy of the left. The left hated him. They called him a racist and a fascist and all the things the left calls people when they dislike him. And then what happened was the Supreme Court, the establishment, realized there was only one person who had any chance to beat Bolsonaro, and that was Lula. They used our reporting as the pretext to let Lula out of prison and to render him eligible to run again. Look, my reporting was truthful. I can't help the fact that the judge and the prosecutors who oversaw Lula's conviction did corrupt and illegal things. That's my job to reveal it and not to hide it. It's not my fault that Lula ended up winning. They let Lula out of prison because they knew only Lula could defeat Bolsonaro.
Dangerous guy.
That guy is. Let me tell you something.
He's a very dangerous
I've been a
guy.
journalist for 20 years. I obviously have done a lot of journalism that has been risky, has been dangerous, whatever. There's never been a time, not ever in my life, when I thought to myself, I want to criticize this political official, but in the back of my mind, I'm a little bit worried about the dangers of doing so. Maybe I shouldn't do it. The only time that thought has entered my mind was when I decided to go on a public crusade against him, because he has no limits on what he will do. He
hasn't come after you yet?
Not yet, but there have been
Are you going to stay in Brazil?
I'm going to stay in Brazil, and I'm going to continue to be the leading voice against Alexandre de Moraes, because I'm the one who has the
he's going to come after platform. You, though. He kicked a bunch of guys out. He kicked the former president's son out, saying you can't come back to Brazil anymore.
Look,
wow, sounds familiar. Raid on a former president's house. Charges, like multiple indictments on bullshit charges. Simply for questioning an election. Does this sound familiar to you people? Do you see that you are no different, that you live in a third world shithole thanks to these loony leftist fucks?
My kids are Brazilian.
Figueiredo, what's his name? Figueiredo.
Paula Figueiredo. But there's a big difference between doing that to Brazilian activists and doing it to me. And so I feel like I have the obligation with this platform to use it, because if I don't, who's going to?
Be safe out there,
Respect.
Bro. Pat, what are the chances that you're going to invite our friend Glenn and this guy Marias to Crustaceans in L.A.?
You're funny.
Have a nice little meal together.
You know what it is when you're saying this? Like, I would love to go to Russia and sit down with Snowden, have a conversation with him. And I would love to go have a conversation with Putin as well, obviously. I'd love to talk to him. But we approached Maduro to go to Venezuela to interview him because I wanted to talk to Maduro at the peak. Maduro and who was the guy that was going up against him that's now in Colombia? Juan
Guaido.
Juan Guaido, yeah. Yeah, just to learn what's the reasons behind this stuff that's going on.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click.
Whoever coined the phrase, "let the buyer beware," was probably bleeding from the asshole.
You got.
Are you fucking getting it yet?
All right, to you loony leftists, in this video, you are just as fucking culpable as old Sniffy Joe or Barack Obama. If you really think that senile old bastard is running things, you're a bigger fucking moron than we thought. And you can stop blaming fucking Trump. He signed a treaty. He didn't fuck up the withdrawal. He didn't leave $85 billion worth of operational military equipment for the Taliban to use. Perhaps we can get them to donate some to the Ukraine. How much of our shit are we going to spread around the fucking world? So, sit your dumb ass down and shut the fuck up about Trump. You fucked up by electing this fucking moron. Suck on it. His generals told him what was going to happen. He ignored it. In the treaty that Trump signed, if what happened, the Americans wouldn't leave. That's how it was written. That's your boy, Barack Obama. Again, do you think that senile bastard is running shit? So, as you're listening to this father, you loony leftists, you hang your head in fucking shame, which you won't, because you have none. People who groom and chemically castrate kids probably don't have much in the way of self-respect or integrity. You wonder why people don't respect you.
Not a single general slapped down their stars, which should have happened 2 years ago when Biden ignored his reliable intelligence. Not a single person has been held accountable. Our so-called leader can't seem to even utter their names in public, not even once. Mr. Biden has run his entire political campaign for 50 years as the family man. Well, I've got news for you, sir. The curtain has been lifting, and that campaign slogan will never work again. We have seen what's going on in your family, and even worse, we've seen how you've been treating us as Gold Star families. And there couldn't be anything more disgusting and cowardly than the way you have treated us. You are a disgrace to this nation. You have no business having ultimate command over our military, and I regret not saying that to your face when I had the opportunity in Dover. I felt it more important to bite my tongue, but I also had more important things on my mind at that time, like receiving my son's lifeless body stateside. While I stood there on the tarmac, watching you check your watch over and over again, all I wanted to do was shout out, "It's 2:30, asshole." But out of respect to the other grieving families, I bit my tongue once again. Well, as you could probably tell by now, I'm done biting my tongue. You, sir, stole their lives, their futures, their dreams, and have ripped apart 13 families. You cannot even man up and admit that. You, sir, gave us all the title Gold Star family. You, sir, discredit honor and integrity. 2 years later, there are things I find myself thinking about. Where and what was Biden's logic sneaking out of Bagram in the middle of the night before ever getting a single Afghan partner or American civilian out? This is the purest definition of intentional negligence. This is just one of many irresponsible and negligent decisions coming from the White House.
Fuck you! Yeah, that's my message to you. Fuck you and kiss my ass.
There you go, loony leftist. Yeah, fuck you and kiss my ass. Now, I'm showing you this video. It's almost like a companion to the Brazilian video, so you understand what may be necessary here very, very soon. That, and I love the fact that the loony left believe they are the sheepdogs, when in truth, they're the sheep. I don't even call them wolves, more like useful idiots. The Democrat Party uses as a militant arm. BLM, Antifa, they use them as militant arms. Basically terrorists. Terrorism, the unlawful use of force or violence against persons or property to intimidate or coerce a government or civilian population in furtherance of political or social objectives. I think setting fire to fucking buildings falls under that category. Actually, they don't even need those groups anymore because they overtly are using the criminal justice system to arrest their opposition. Go back to my Brazilian video. Again, that's what's the difference. I think some people are going to have to nut up here very soon, or don't. I don't give a fuck either way. I live in Brazil, and I don't see the difference between Brazil and the United States right now, except the exchange rate. I can be censored for saying certain things. I can be arrested for saying certain things. Obviously, what's the difference? So, watch this video and try to figure out where you land. You might want to plan fucking accordingly.
I talk about the sheep, the wolf, and the sheepdog. And I can't tell you how many people have come up to me over the years and said, you know, I always thought there was something wrong with me. All my life, people told me I was a wolf. I'm not a wolf. I would never harm the flock. But I yearn for a righteous battle. I yearn for an opportunity to use my skills. The sheep are all those kind, decent, gentle creatures who can only hurt you by accident or extreme provocation. And the wolf will feed on the sheep without mercy. And then there's the sheepdog. The sheepdog is a predator too. The sheepdog's a meat eater too. It takes a predator to hunt a predator. But that sheepdog, if you have no propensity for violence, then you're a nonviolent citizen. If you have a propensity for violence and an absence of empathy, violence without any emotion for others is a pretty good definition of aggressive sociopath or a wolf. But what if you had a propensity for violence and a love for the lambs? What if you spent a lifetime nurturing the capacity for violence and a desire to use it in a righteous battle? You know, the sheep heard about the 9/11 hijackings. They said, thank God I wasn't on that plane. The sheepdog heard about the 9/11 hijackings. They said, I wish I was on that plane. Maybe I could have made a difference. And that's that mindset. And the amazing thing is that the sheepdog, they're not destroyed by combat. They thrive in it. We have got to go into combat with what I call a positive self-fulfilling prophecy. People have scripts in their mind, and if you get in a gunfight and you say, oh my God, my life is going to go to hell, I had to kill this guy, everything's going to be shit, then that's a mental program you just gave yourself. My life is going to go to hell, everything's going to go to shit. Most people will tell you, in private, one-on-one, that when I had to shoot that bad guy, it was the culminating achievement of a lifetime of preparation. I used my skills in a life and death event to stop a deadly force threat and to save lives and to stop a bad man. It was the ultimate achievement of my lifetime, the pinnacle of a lifetime of preparation. It was a moment of great adrenaline and achievement, and all my training came together, and it was one of the greatest moments of my life. If you think about going into combat that way, and the sheepdog does, the sheepdog yearns for that opportunity, then when combat comes, you're not destroyed. You got a positive self-fulfilling prophecy. And it's so important that we don't sink into what I call the pity party. But we have this positive self-fulfilling prophecy as we go into combat. The sheepdog, they yearn for that righteous battle, and when the moment comes, they thrive on it, they take pride in it, and they get on with their lives and are able to sustain themselves and be triumphant and stronger from their experience.
So I've told you multiple times that the time is probably coming where you're going to have to exercise what the founders. I don't think they actually had grooming and chemically castrating children in mind, or crack addicted sons selling influence in mind at the time when they wrote it, but I think that this would apply. Or, could you imagine if, like, Thomas Jefferson had tried to put George Washington in jail? What the fuck would... And I'm not equating Trump to George. Trump is a pompous asshole. But I happen to like money, so there you go. That's how it works. Who's going to feed my family and pay my bills is the guy I want in that fucking office. Loony leftists don't have that because, well, their parents have to worry about that, not them. But yeah, it's coming.
This is not a test. This is your emergency broadcast system announcing the commencement of the annual purge sanctioned by the U.S. government. Weapons of Class 4 and lower have been authorized for use during the purge. All other weapons are restricted. Government officials of ranking 10 have been granted immunity from the purge and shall not be harmed. Commencing at the siren, any and all crime, including murder, will be legal for 12 continuous hours. Police, fire, and emergency medical services will be unavailable until tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. when the purge concludes. Blessed be our new founding fathers and America, a nation reborn. May God be with you all.
Now, I had an idea for a monthly thing for all the idiots on InstaFace that will babble incoherently on InstaFace, but lack the testicular fortitude to come over here. I'll make a group on InstaFace, put them all in it, and then live stream it here. We'll call it the Sean's a Big Poopy Head 1 hour special. So, now that we got the plan stuff out of the way, now I'm available for, there's no loony leftists in here. I want them to come over. I've had a few today that try to take the Trump, and they all do the same thing. They Fetterman and use like the smiley face emoji, but nobody can give me a Biden accomplishment, so I'm waiting for that. So, so once I get to 2 hours, anybody want to look up some fucking Biden Sniffy Joe lies, or you want to look up, listen to some Trump accomplishments, or how about gender ideology? You want to fuck with the trans people, the people with the mental illness, the gender confusion? I got that down too. How about CRT? My favorite from the loony left is, what do you know about CRT? Probably more than you do. Yeah, I think I said it today on InstaFace. I'm trying to figure out the mental illness that these people get, where they literally, like, I had one today. He was talking, they're communist wannabes. And I started posting facts about, the number of deaths per country and during the Soviet occupation. And some idiot, I know where you got that information, and he shared the link. Well, if you can find the fucking link, read it yourself. But all I wrote was and. I'm still waiting for the fucking and. And. I'm still waiting for the and. I don't know what he was. What? Really? Anyway. Oh, I have to show off my Portuguese skills. The police in Brazil are not. When you people complain about fucking police or the loony left, in Brazil they'll beat the fuck out of you. They don't give a shit. Okay. However, this is kind of why I put this article in there, was just like they're coming to America to train, really? But anyway. Yeah, it would appear from the state I live in Brazil, came to America to train with American SWAT teams. A Polícia Civil de Santa Catarina enviou 5 policiais civis. They sent 5 civil police. Yeah. There's a difference between Polícia Militar, which is federal police, and Police Civil. They're civil police. Civil police are like state, and then you have like Polícia Militar, which is military police, which is federal, and then you have like the highway police, which is what they call it, PRF. Polícia Rodovia Federal, which is federal, like highway patrol. So there's 3 branches, and then you have Guarda Municipal, which are basically security guards that patrol the city, and they don't carry guns, they carry tasers. That's all they carry, tasers and billy clubs. So, yes, and the police here, the federal police, are part of the military. But here, like, when you guys complain about the police in the States, I kind of laugh at you, you bunch of fucking cryasses. Because here, if you lip off, they'll just fucking slap the shit out of you, throw you in the back of a car, and yeah, you're going to jail. And it's not a nice jail. You're not getting fucking great food. You're not getting, no.
Dois delegados e 3 agentes de polícia para participar do curso presencial de SWAT, Training Special Weapons and Tactics, ministrado pela West Jordan Departamento de Polícia. West Jordan, somewhere in West Jordan, Utah, na Estados Unidos, United States. A equipe que embarcou na sexta-feira. Friday. They left on Friday. Iniciou o curso neste domingo until Saturday or Sunday. O mesmo será finalizado no dia 1st it's going to end on the 1st of September. Os policiais civis são integrantes da equipe de diretoria estadual de investigações criminais. Director of State Investigations, Criminal Investigation, e da Coordenadoria de Recursos Especiais, COR. De acordo com o delegado General Delegation, they agreed Ulisses Gabriel, a participação em cursos internacionais tem repercussão muito grande na instituição, pois essas pessoas são multiplicadores de conhecimento. Just multiplies what they know. O curso foi elaborado para fornecer uma visão.
This is the one thing I hate about Portuguese, is you have to read the whole sentence to get the context, and then you can translate.
Abrangente sobre operações especiais, usando as melhores práticas globais de armas e táticas especiais, using special weapons and tactics. Dos destaques do curso é protocolo utilizado para exposto policial individual e atirador ativo. Active shooter, training with especial relevância para atuar em ambientes escolares, school shootings, school environments. A primeira parte de curso terá duração de 6 dias. The first part of the course is 6 days, de segundo e sábado, from Monday to Saturday, sendo um período integral 24 horas. São 24 hours. A segunda parte terá duração de 5 dias. The second part is 5 days, com 8 e 10 horas de atividades. So with 8 to 10 hours of activities. So there, I just translated Portuguese for you. So that's pretty much all I had planned. I've been waiting for someone to come in to chat, especially one of the loony lefters. I invited like 20 tonight. And all they've done is they go on InstaFace and basically babble incoherently on InstaFace. Because they know I can't share links. They don't have to face the music where I can fuck them up. So until they come over here, I just delete their comments. Nobody's in. There's no. I might try to find some like videos funny videos. Maybe we'll do some humor. Let me see if I can. Yeah, it would appear from the state I live in Brazil came to America to train with American. There we go. I got rid of that. I'm doing this on the fly, so don't gripe at me media source. Let's go. What do we got for funny stuff? Just scoop it. Sound effects. That's what I wanted. What do we got going on? Oh, yeah. CRT. There's CRT. I like this. This one's funny because it's. I made it. I think it's hilarious. I think it's true too. Deism, racism, kebab. Oh, wait a minute. Racism, Creole. Like I said, I'm doing this on the fly. Gumbo, pan fried, deep fried. There's pineapple racism. Oh, wait a minute. You guys can hear it. I can't, so that's all right. Racism salad. Racism and potatoes. Racism burger. Racism sandwich. That's about it. Let's hear that one again. I like that one. That one's good. Let's hear that one again. Deism, racism kebabs, racism Creole, racism gumbo, pan fried, deep fried. There's pineapple racism, lemon racism, racism salad. Racism and potatoes, racism burger, racism sandwich. That's about it. And still not one single loony leftist who has come over. And nobody's in chat either. So we could discuss things. I know you're all up. Well, some of you will probably watch this video and get upset at me because I'm calling America a third world shithole, but America's a third world shithole. Let me see. What do we got? Something else. Something new. I got people weighing in on other stuff on like InstaFace. But, I like this one. This one I made. And it is fucking true. And it is fucking true. Is it sick or that I kind of like watching a liberal get his fucking head smashed in? I'm fucking tired, of listening to these fucking idiots. Holy shit. How stupid can you be and not fucking die? Personally, I think we should quit protecting these fucking people. Humans are the only species on the planet that keep their stupid and fucking useless alive against Mother Nature's rules. Isn't that how we got in this fucking mess in the first place? Holy fuck. If you're stupid, you should die young. It makes room for other people who are not fucking stupid. If you're stupid, you should die young. It makes room for other people who are not fucking what else can I throw in there that, yes. Of course, 9/11 anniversary is coming up, which means all the conspiracy theorists are going to be fucking out there. Holy fuck. Of course, 9/11 anniversary is coming up, which means all you people are going to be fucking out there. Group. What we got going here? Trying to figure out. Never mind. I'll have to look that up to see how that works, but it'd be great to put a group in there, and I'll have to look that up to see how that works, but it'd be great to let's see, collusion mix, our choices. Oh, here we go.
I was having a wonderful, peaceful conversation with this guy named Anthony Weiner. I don't know if you're familiar with the guy or not.
Yeah.
He's a very, interesting
I saw
guy.
that podcast.
Yeah. So, and I asked him a question where I say, so let me ask you, how good are you at giving blowjobs? And he looks at me like, kind of a freaking question is that? He says, I'm sorry? And I said, yeah, how good are you at giving it? He says, no. I said, when you were 11 years old, did anybody teach you how to give one? No. Why would they teach me that? That's what they're teaching in schools right now in many different places. Oh, they're not doing that. There's no way they're doing that.
There
right?
are books that do show that. Yeah.
There are books, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So
No shit.
if
It's
a
called a
person
cult.
wants to sell that book at Barnes & Noble, go for it. If a person
number
wants to sell
20
that book on Amazon, go for it.
You're in a
But
cult
what do you
list
think about
is
parents that are
lie
protesting
with
all over the
irrefutable
place when some
evidence.
districts, these guys are saying, no, this is recommended reading by the teacher and it's normal, it's okay, you should learn about this at an early age. How do you feel about that?
Well, I think it's very clear that there are certain teachers that have an agenda, and that their agenda is to indoctrinate children into this LBGT mindset, and that this is not just cherished but celebrated. And, if you're talking to someone who is a gay kid, great. That's great. If you want to tell them that it's okay to be gay and, you should be your true self, great. That's terrific. What my concern with is that a lot of what we're seeing with, New Jersey had an uptick in kids identifying as non-binary by 4,000%. It's not natural. These are not normal numbers. And I think children are very malleable. They're very impressionable. And if you reward them for certain kinds of behavior, if they are praised and cherished for certain types of behavior, I think they'll be encouraged to do that. And I think you're seeing with a lot of these detransitioners that a lot of these kids got encouraged early and got put on hormone blockers and hormones and got mastectomies and got castrated, and now they have deep regret. And people don't want to acknowledge that, and they attack those people. They attack those detransitioners. We have always thought that young children are not capable of making life-changing decisions at an early age. That's why we don't allow 7-year-olds to get tattooed. Right. And now all of a sudden you're allowing 7-year-olds to say that I'm a girl or I'm a boy, cut off my breasts and put me on testosterone.
Yeah.
That's craziness.
What percentage of parents do you actually think, obviously we don't know the exact number, but what percentage of parents, left, right, middle, think that's okay? What do you think that percentage is?
That's interesting. I would not know. I would just be wildly guessing.
What do you
but there's
even if we guess,
a
what would you
certain amount
say?
of people that are in the progressive mindset that is essentially a cult. There's cult-like thinking on both the right and on the left.
Absolutely.
It's cult thinking. It's conglomerations of opinions that you adopt and you defend because that keeps you in the tribe. and the LBGT, whatever the other numbers are in letters,
Mm-hmm.
what that is it's a flag that you're flying to show that you're on the right team, that you're
Alphabet
progressive,
mafia.
you're open-minded, you're on the right side of history,
Yeah.
you're inclusive. This is what they're doing. And that has an effect on people psychologically. I think you should allow people to be who they are. And you should be open to people being who they are no matter what it is. But to encourage them to go in a specific direction, I think there's real repercussions for that. And I think you're seeing that with these detransitioners.
You think it's 1%, 5%, 10%, 15%? You think it's 20 plus? Like if you were to guess,
I don't think it's 20%.
I don't think so either.
I think it's a vocal minority. The same thing with people that think that trans athletes should be able to compete with women, and biological women in women's sports. It's a very small, very loud minority.
Do you think that's kind of like, let's just say I'm your friend, okay? And we're out at a restaurant. And you know how there's the guys that all of a sudden somebody's going to say, Joe, you're picking up a topic, we're having dinner, we're having a conversation. Hey, what do you think about voting this way? And one of your friends, this guy feels like I have to agree with 100% of what Joe says because it's Joe. Joe's my boy. Joe said this. Joe, you're 100% right. And then you got one of your friends like, Joe, I don't know if I agree with you, man. I think it's this, and you're having a debate. Do you think there's a part of the political party where they feel like just because I'm a Democrat, I have to agree with 100% of what everything they're pitching me?
There's a bunch of people like that. Yeah, there's a bunch of like full-on cultists, and they're blue no matter who.
Yeah.
And that's their mind, and in their social circle, like this is how you talk and communicate. And I've had conversations with those people, particularly when I was in LA. And when you confront them with facts, they're in denial. First of all, they don't know the facts. They're in denial about it. They think that what you're saying is propaganda, that what you're saying is right-wing bullshit and conspiracy theories. I remember when I first started talking to Jordan Peterson about that bill, what is it, C-16, that's up in Canada, that is a hate speech law that mandates you using whatever the person's preferred pronouns are. And at that point, there were like 48 different preferred pronouns that were going to mandate. And people are like, why are you concentrating on that? This is something that exists in colleges. This is not something in your world. Like, why is that of concern to you? Because people graduate from college and they take these ideas they've been indoctrinated with, and then they enter into the workforce. And that's what we're seeing. And that's what killed Bud Light. That's literally what killed Bud Light. That they tried to enforce these ideas that they had been ingrained with in these educational institutions, and then they tried to put it out there in the world.
Yeah. So Joe, how old are you? You're
55.
Okay, I'm 44. Okay.
I'll be 56 in a couple of weeks.
You'll be 56. Well, you look great for a 56-year-old. I'm just looking at your place. You're walking behind you. I'm like, holy shit, this guy's in shape. So, but okay, 55. You're going to be 56. From your experience at this age, when did you and I care the most about what people thought? What age were you when we cared the most about what people thought?
When I was a kid.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough. Okay.
Yeah.
So how little do you give a shit about what people think about you today?
Well, I don't want people to be wrong. I don't want people to have an incorrect opinion about my position
Sure.
on things or who I am.
But do you lose sleep at night
No.
with people? Okay, so that's the point. So
But also, you and I are used to dealing with the opinions of an enormous amount of people.
Totally agree. But let's not pick people like you and I. Let's pick a regular guy. One of your guys out there, that I won't mention names, that, he's always with you. Do you think he cares more at 42 years old what I think about him?
Less.
Less, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
So-
it's life experience, right?
So let me ask you this question. As a 55-year-old man, if you were really gay right now, Joe, would you care about coming out?
I wouldn't, but I do have friends that are my age that do care, and it's sad.
Okay.
But they're worried more about how their family is going to perceive it and how the family's going to be treated about it.
By the way, I'm not trying to convert you to, for both of us right now to make an announcement, public announcement right now. Joe Rogan and Patrick Bet-David came out, and
we're both getting married.
We're both getting married. Who takes whose last name? So
we'll hyphenate it like good progressives. When I see a dude with a hyphenated name, I'm like, yo, bro.
Yo, I got a hyphenated last name, Bet-David, but I understand Rogan Bet-David or Bet-David Rogan. So I want you to think about this. The part where I go is the following. The statistic, traditionalists, 0.8% are gay. Boomers, 2.6%. Then it goes to 5 point something. Then it goes 10%.
Is it really 10%?
Oh yeah, Gen Z's right now is 21%.
How much of them are regretful?
Do you want to pull this, Jamie? Can you
21% gay?
21% of Gen Z right now is gay.
Is it gay or LGBTQ?
All that stuff.
Because you can be non-binary and slip right in there with like a real fucking loophole.
Check that out. Look at that right there.
Number of LGBTQ identified.
No such thing as non-binary.
Yeah, look at that. 0.8% traditionalists. Boomers 2.6, Gen X 4.2, Millennials 10.5, and then you got Gen Z's around 21%. Right? Okay. So when you look at the statistics, why would Gen Z become gay? They care about what other people think. You know, this is like,
I don't give a fuck.
You know, it's kind of versus the traditionalist. Dude, if I'm like 72 years old and I'm gay, guess what? I'm coming out.
Right.
I'm like, hey, man, I am. What do you want to do about it? I'm going to go and hang out with Jose over here.
Yeah,
and
leave me alone.
Leave me alone. Do what you got to do. So I think, you know, we're truly messing up with a generation that really cares about what other people think, and we're screwing them up.
Well, that's your first
Well,
problem.
also, they're growing
You're
up
not
in a
teaching
time
them
of
that
social
it doesn't
media
matter
where caring
what
about
people
what other
think.
people think is way more enforced.
Unless they pay your
because
check.
you're getting so much more feedback than people have ever gotten
feed
before.
you or
like
fuck
a
you.
regular person might just be communicating with thousands of people in comments and arguing about things on social media in a way where you would not interact with so many random people that you don't know.
Yeah.
So,
and even that's a good point. Like even the social dilemma thing, kind of like where you're going, where these kids are so worried about what other people think.
Yeah.
I think it's a big mistake, and I think we're going to pay a price for it. And it's going to take us a decade or two to see the results of this.
I think so too, and I think there's going to be a self-correcting thing. What I fear the most is the detransitioners. I feel terrible for them. I feel terrible for these girls that can never have children now, and I feel terrible for these guys that are castrated, and it's just the whole thing is just very spooky because people are making life-changing decisions. Now, does that mean that I'm anti-trans? Not at all. If you're a grown adult and you feel like that's going to make you happy, I fully support your ability as a grown adult to do whatever you want, as long as it's not hurting anyone else. That makes you happy.
Sure.
And if that makes you happy,
Yeah.
I don't know what makes you happy. If that makes you happy, I am a freedom person. I believe you should have freedom to do whatever you want. However, I do think that there's an indoctrination aspect to this, and I do think there's a social contagion aspect to this, and that's what Abigail Schreier has documented, and that a lot of these girls that are coming out, they're doing in these clusters of girls, and a lot of them are autistic, a lot of them are, they're on a spectrum, and they don't feel like they fit in anyway. When they give them testosterone, a lot of times there's an alleviation of anxiety that comes with testosterone and a euphoria that comes with that, and they say, okay, this is who I've meant to be. Which is so crazy that introducing a foreign substance into your body, or at least a substance that your body does not naturally have at masculine doses, and that you're introducing that to a feminine body and then saying, this is who I naturally am. That's crazy. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense biologically, scientifically. It doesn't make sense.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.
Well, since no one wants to come over or, say hi or whatever, let me check chat one time last time. Now, even though Looney left, I got him on Facebook now, just Fettermaning. Yeah, so I think I'm going to go over to YouTube or Facebook. I'm on YouTube and do a room or something and see who's out there. So, peace till next week. Maybe next week I'll do the group and see who fucking shows up, and we'll just fuck with them or whatever. Trying to figure out how I could do that where they can see you. I could put some of you guys, if you're on InstaFace, send me your shit and I'll put you in the room. I'm trying to figure out how we could do like call in, like everybody can call. The only way to do that is if you're on Facebook, right? I start a room and everybody comes in the room, but with that I can't use. It would have to be pre-recorded on a certain day and then put up on YouTube at a later time. But I could do it. It's just we'd have to pick topics and and then everybody can come in and whatever. But I really want to just fuck with these loony leftists because, I mean, they're so stupid. They can't help you. Listening to them cannot help but boost your self-esteem, right? At least I'm not that fucking idiot, right? That's literally. So yeah, next week. I haven't picked a topic yet, but next week we'll see what happens. But anyway, peace out. I'll be over on Facebook in a room. I'm going to share the room name, or I haven't decided what name to use. But adios. Até mais logo. Until later. Saturdays I trash your party. You hate Trump, Biden shot it. You tell every kid you see that you are gay. Science makes you mad, indictments make you glad. For 8 years now we've got 'em, is all you said. Biology is just too much, so the doctors cut off your nuts, and you think that you are a babe. You call me names and swear at me because you changed the way you be, and I don't want to live your fantasy. I know I'm right, you're fucking crazy. And tonight I'm gonna prove just how much you ain't too bright. You're kinda lazy. I know you're wrong, I know I'm right, you're fucking nuts.
I don't like you.
What?
I said I don't like you.
You don't like me?
No.